And I'm very excited to be introducing Rena Little, who is coming on to talk to us today about how to scale your business through referral partnerships. So let us have it. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so this topic came about because I didn't really think of myself as an expert in this at all. I'd been trying to scale a few different ways over the years, and I would grow to a certain point, and then I would get overwhelmed, and then I would have to pull it back again. And I think I did that about 3 times. So this is, not easy stuff, as you know, but last month, this all came out when you asked the question in the group, what mindset shifts you need to make to, I can't remember what the entire question was, but to that you would recommend or something like that. You asked a good question, and I answered this idea of finding referral partners, because if you can, the mindset shift is shifting how you think about your networking and what your target market is. Because if you can organize yourself to meet one person who gives you 100 clients, that's so much less effort than meeting 100 people that might bring you 50 clients, because we know that the conversion rate to the people that you meet is not really going to be 1-for-1 anyways, right? So this was the biggest shift that I made, and I made it about last year, and it took me about a year to really do the work and figure it out. So what I figured out was there are a couple of different, so I've got the who, what, when, where, and why organized. This is how I organized this little talk. So
I love it.
We've got the who. We're looking for business owners who offer complementary services or products to what we're offering. So if you can get to the first step first, which is find things that are complementary to your business that you don't already offer, but would be a really great value add to your clients, and you are probably already tell them that they already need this thing or this service. And you might even have people that you send them to that you've worked with before that you like or that you trust. So you might already have that connection in place. So what this is actually formalizing that relationship. So here's some lingo that I learned. One is white labeling, and that's a super important one. So if you're a service provider, like I am, I can white label for any other marketing company that's bigger or that doesn't have somebody with a certain particular skill set. Like say they do digital marketing, they do all the AdWords, but they don't have anyone that does social media and they hate social media. So then that would be someone that I would want to meet, right? And so white labeling means that I'm not putting my brand on it. So half the time, the only thing is you got to get your ego out of the way for this one, because you are going to be doing business as that other company, not your company. It also means that you can't use that work to promote your company, which is a bit of a drag, but there are workarounds for that too. So white labeling.
Rena, for 1 second, because you are dropping some gold here. Okay, so I want to pull apart what you just said. So with white labeling, and for folks that don't know what that is where somebody else, you do the work and somebody else slaps their brand on it.
That's right.
Which is why, as you were saying, like you can't take credit for it and you have to get your ego out of the way. So my first question to you into that is how did you, if you feel comfortable, I'd love for you to reflect on how your ego came up and how you tamed that beast around white labeling.
Okay. My ego really isn't in my company anyways in this particular way, because it's not, it is, I love what I do, don't get me wrong, but I framed it in the way that I actually want it to be a fully functioning business, it's not my ego stroking space. So in order to actually think about numbers, I'm looking at it from a numbers game. And when I started doing that, that's what also really helped me shift to making the right decisions in all sorts of places that I had no idea I was letting my ego get in there. So I actually look at, is this best for Little Works Indie Media? It doesn't matter if it's the best for Rena Little. Is it best for Little Works Indie Media? And if it's a yes, then I go with it. If it's a no, then I sort of pull that apart and see, well, can I frame it differently, or how do I need to make it into a yes? And is that too much work, or should I just let it go? So those are some ways of dealing with that. The white label relationship also works in reverse. So you can take the position where you're the service provider and you're going to white label for other people, but you can also take on other service providers and ask them to white label for you. Then the second one is called affiliate marketing. You're going to sell a product or a service for somebody, and they are going to give you a kickback. So they're doing it under their label. So they're not white labeling for you. And usually the affiliate range is anywhere between 5 and 30%, but it can be anything that you guys negotiate. So it really just depends on how big the product is, what that profit margin is, what the value of that client, long-term value of that client is. You want to consider all of that when you're making up your affiliates.
You said about thinking about the who, first of all, where's that complementary service where you're serving the same audience but doing different things that you connect with, and then the what is then we're talking about the things like the white labeling, the affiliate marketing or affiliate partnerships,
and there's a third one.
Yes, right?
Yeah, joint ventures. So joint ventures is a lot like affiliate marketing, except for it's a little bit bigger, and it might just be one time.
Do you really recommend that folks?
Yeah, that's a great question. It doesn't. I don't necessarily think you need to get lawyers involved for that kind of official. Although any kind of contract, caveat, any kind of contract, you should have your lawyer look over if you're there. But what I feel is the most important is having clear agreements. So at least have something written down that you've both reviewed and agree to. Therefore, if you ever get into the situation where you have a conflict or a disagreement, you can refer back to what the agreement actually states. And even if you do that, sometimes you will get conflict. And as long as you're just discussing it in an open way, then generally it's fairly easy to resolve. But I like clarity. So official agreements work out. Unofficial ones are usually fine too. Sometimes it looks like, here's my Eventbrite voucher code for all of your people, and then it just works that way. So you really have to feel out who you're dealing with, and know your people and trust your providers.
What I think that a lot of folks might have a hard time wrapping their minds around here is that this is like another revenue stream in a lot of ways. Like this is something that's not just like a, hey, if you got time. It's like this is an intentional thing where you are forming these partnerships as a way to drive people, drive clients, right?
Yeah, sure. And it's a little bit of work on the upfront, but over the long term, it's killer. I mean, it takes you a while to do the sales, to organize the relationship. It took me about 3 months for my last white label partner. And, a lot of meetings, and then, the profit margin was probably only about $100, but it's months. It's going to be months of $100. Do you know what I mean? And so that ends up, and that's one client. And then if you get like 5 clients with that, then obviously you can start to see, and those are clients that I just need to prepare the invoice for and send a report out to. So that's, in the long term, it really helps.
I love it. And so I'm so curious for folks that are watching, if you do already have a referral partnership in place, or affiliate marketing or white labeling. And if you don't, what are your questions? Is this something that you'd like to consider getting started in your business? Okay, so bring us home, Rita. Now that we know the who, we know the what else have you got for us?
Okay, so the where. So where do you find your partners? Well, this was also the most excellent mind shift that I had. Once I decided that I wanted to develop these kinds of relationships, it made me shift how I thought about networking. Mm-hmm. I'm talking about in-person networking, although we're not doing that so much, but our in-person is now Zoom marketing. But there's also digital marketing on top of that. So digital networking, which is what I really use LinkedIn for. So there are lots of different places to do it. I recommend starting where you're most comfortable, usually in the networking groups that you are most visible in. If you have a monthly membership with one or the other, then that's where I would start. And I always start by testing the product and service out myself to know that it's going to be something that I can put my name behind. If I'm going to, they're white labeling for me, I want to make sure. But usually it just takes a couple of conversations, a little bit of, communication. I'm looking for people who are also looking to grow their business. You want somebody who actually has capacity. That's a new word that I've learned how to ask suppliers. What is your capacity? So that if I do all the selling, then and you run out of time, do you have a team behind you? Do you have a plan to get a team? What is going on? Or do I really, is that going to be a really good fit for me long term?
And
so
that's, I'm gonna, do you mind? I'm
Yeah.
gonna jump in on there for a second.
Yeah.
Because that is an important part that I think a lot of entrepreneurs don't think about when they're doing joint ventures, when they're doing collaborations, when they're doing things like affiliates. Is it sounds really good when you're having a conversation, but you need to know if this person has the capacity, has the team, this is just as intentional and will get as much time on their end as you're giving it on yours. Otherwise, it's going to be dead in the water. It's not going to even move forward. And
that's correct.
Right? Or
that
becomes
is imbalanced.
Correct. Yeah. So those are important questions to ask.
Yeah, because the first couple of white labeling partners I took on as a white labeler, they weren't doing any marketing. So they just put the information up on their website and then hoped that something was going to happen. And of course, nothing actually did.
Yeah.
So that was that. And then, you want to find out what kind of marketing they're doing. So usually I'm already perusing the marketing of someone and I'm thinking in my mind, first I'll sign up for their newsletters. I'll like them in person. Then I sign up for their newsletters. Then I see how frequently they send newsletters, what content is in there. And I'm like impressed or not impressed. If I'm impressed, then I move to the next stage, which is, pinging them in a DM or sending an email or picking up the phone and asking for a call, booking a one-to-one and finding out more about where they're at in their business and what's going on. And then usually after that, I pitch it. But it's a slow pitch for me. It's not a fast pitch because it's like that old adage, you want to hire slowly and fire quickly.
Yeah.
And that's, I look at my white labeling in that way too.
Yeah. And I think that applies to a lot of things. It's take your time and properly vet, make sure this is a brand and a product or a person that you're proud to represent and would want them representing you. And take your time to get to know them first and work that out before you just dive into a partnership. It also is going to lead to a lot less disappointment on your end. Sometimes in an effort to save time, we will rush things and it will end up not moving forward or falling apart or taking us in the wrong direction. And this is an example of take your time and really go through this process to find the right person to have these conversations, to get on the same page, set it up really officially. So yes, like you say, there's that front end load of time. But once it's all established and you guys are rocking, there's a lot less time and a lot more money flowing in. And
that is exactly right. The cash flow goes up quite quickly.
Exactly.
Right.
Oh my gosh. And that is an incredible way to look at it. I think a lot of folks think about the I got to do it all myself mentality, right? And when you have these referral partnerships, it goes a long way. I mean, we see this with like the Marie Forleo or the Stu McLaren or the Amy Portfield. We see other launches and how they all affiliate for each other. And
that's right.
Like the sales are astronomical and also the affiliate commissions are astronomical. And so again, the millions. So
that's right.
It's a powerful tool. I love it. Okay. So as I wrap us up here, I'm going to get you to give some advice for somebody that wants to get started on this concept of referral partnerships. What is the first step that somebody can take?
Get clear on what it is that you want to do, what the relationship is that you're looking to create and what you can offer. I usually start with one package or one thing and work with that before I get too complicated. So that's where you should be starting. And then that will shift the way you think about networking because your goal at networking is suddenly going to be super different. And actually your networking is going to improve greatly because you're not desperate to make that one single sale. Yeah. So you're going to sit back, relax, and let the other people do the talking. And that actually will shift everything because you're not in sales mode.
Yeah.
And it's great. And then when you are then yes, definitely networking. That's the whole point. Get to your point where you're networking.
So get clear on what you want. Pick one thing, one product, one service, one project, and then go and network, not from a place of selling to a client, but from scanning the digital room to check out and look for potential partnerships, and then engage in a conversation from that less pressured, easy flow, is this a fit kind of perspective?
Yeah. That's right.
God, I love it. Amazing.
The when is now and the why is because you want to make money.
Hey, can we get like a round of applause for that? The when and the why. When is right now and the why is because you want to make money. It's a no-brainer. I love it. And that really ties into what you said about separating the ego from the business, me from the business. What does my business need? And if that business needs to make money, well, let's talk about some referral partnerships. So for folks who want to stay in touch with you, where is the best place for them to come connect with you?
Right. Well, actually, the best place is wherever you are the most. I am on all social media because digital marketing is my thing.
Thank you so much for joining me today and sharing your insights into these partnerships and what that means for business growth.
Yeah, great.
I love it. Amazing. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Rita, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us, and make it a great week, everyone. Bye.